Welcome to the New Discovery Christian Podcast, where you'll find Bible messaging and sermons that will encourage, uplift, and challenge you to a godlier life. Join our community and become inspired to continue living a God-directed life.
Welcome back to the New Discovery Podcast. I'm Kyle here as your host, and I got Parker as my co-host with me today. So happy New Year's to you. When this comes out, this will be the New Year's, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that going into the new year, and specifically, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions and about our resolutions, if you do, and just kind of are they biblical? We're going to kind of just dive into those topics here today. So we'll have a two-part. We're going to have one part, and then after this, we're going to have a two-part. So jump in for the whole thing. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the first question here between me and Parker. And first one is, what New Year's resolutions have you had in the past? And I'll kind of just go ahead and jump in and kind of get the engine started. So for me, at least, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I don't know about some of the ones that you've had, Parker. I can think in the past, some of them typically have been with my health, and that's probably not I'm probably not the only person who's, dived into that. But for me personally, I guess just thinking about it, usually it includes exercise, going to the gym, and sleep. And specifically, if I dive into one that I recently had from last year, is I remember one of my resolutions was I was getting terrible sleep, and I just did not know why, kind of thing. And I remember I was just really diving into, why aren't I getting good sleep? What can I do about it? And just really looking into it. And initially I thought it was going to be easy. I really did. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I had to start with was this right here. Was the caffeine. And
that's coffee, not alcohol, right?
Yes, that is coffee. Yeah, that isn't saying a special in there right now. And so I really needed to cut down on that. I mean, for context here, way in the past, one of the resolutions was really cutting it down because I was a 2-pot guy, and that's a little too much, as my doctor told me. So yeah, I still went down from there, but I was still drinking it throughout the whole day. So I guess one of the things for me was, looking into it, one of the things is, no, you don't need to drink it the whole day. So you only need to drink it half of the day. And I've even cut back even more. I don't even drink past 11 o'clock when it comes to caffeine at this point. I won't go beyond that threshold because it stays in your system, from what I've been told, for 12 hours. So after 6 hours, half of it goes away. After 6 more hours, half of it goes away in your system, is the way it works. It has a half-life. So now I try to be done by 11, and that really is that has helped my sleep, but has not completed the sleep, if that makes sense. There was still other factors. I thought that's it. And that was still not easy for me because I was relying it on energy to a certain degree, but I got rid of that. And then I still found out, it's like, wait a minute, because I would pee throughout the night and stuff like that. So if you don't know, it's a diuretic, and you're going to pee throughout the night. So you're not sleeping correctly. But then it was like, some way it's just like, okay, I'm not doing that in the night, but I'm still not getting to sleep. And I'm not a medicine guy, but for me to get on the schedule of getting my sleep schedule right, I needed to get to sleep at a certain point and then wake up at a certain point. And so there is, I forgot what it's called. I'm not strongly recommending this, but it's like dihydra something. Now, it's not habit forming, and it's going to help you get to sleep. I don't know what the long-term consequences of using it were. I hope not that bad, but I was using that for about 6 months to really help you're going to get to sleep at this time. You're going to wake up at this time, because that was jacked up. I really just could not get to sleep at a certain time, and that helped. And one of the things I did not want to do is use that for the rest of my life, though. That was just get me back on track kind of thing. Yeah. And that helped get me back on track. One of the things is I noticed if you take like 2 of them, it was working like the coffee. It was a diuretic, apparently. And so I would still get up, and I was like, man, I really don't want to stay on this very long because it's not helping me get deep sleep. But it worked good enough to get the schedule down, and then I worked myself off of that. And then other things, Like I have glasses that I put on because it was still not quite where I wanted with my sleep. It was kind of interesting. And so then again, it was still working on this new, because I was like, we're going to get this down this year. This is like one of my main objectives. There was some workout stuff, but this was the main one. And I got some glasses that filter out the blue light, and that helped even a little bit more. It didn't complete it, but a little bit more. And then I took kind of a warm bath 2 hours before I went to bed. I looked up that's helpful for you to kind of get relaxed and get to sleep. And that helped a little bit more. Again, try to do that. No exercise or anything like that at the end of the day. No chocolate at the end of the day because it doesn't have caffeine, but has a chemical that works like caffeine.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So that helps again, stuff like that, not at the end of the day. And then just for context, I'm on the ketogenic diet. So it's low carb, low sugar. Just for context, I say that because you can have 50 grams of carbs. Carbs help you get sleepy. I decided not to eat my carbs, any of them for lunch, but then I put them all at the end of the day, and that helped even more. So kind of get a little bit sleepy. And I may be missing something possibly here. One of it, I guess, trying to get to sleep at the same time, going to sleep and then waking up at the same time, making sure that was down pat. No bright lights at the end of the day, stuff like that. That's very helpful. And believe it or not, I finally have good sleep after all that, getting to sleep and having restful sleep after all that. And that's one that I've had, and I'll kind of bring up why that one's kind of important towards the end and helping keep a resolution, but became more complicated than I initially thought. But that's one that I can think of just from last year. But what about you?
Well, I mean, as far as, so I've never really been a New Year's resolution person because it's like, I don't see how the position of the earth relative to the sun is going to help me be successful. But, so I guess last year, I don't remember. I didn't have any last year. I think I can't even remember what I said. I think I just made something up on the spot, but
yeah, I think you said you didn't have one.
Yeah. I think I wanted to read more. And that I did read. I didn't read as much as I did last year because I started a job. So that's kind of one thing for context, I work as a tax accountant. So January from April is like, we're running around with our head like a chicken with its head cut off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to start a new habit on January 1st. But one thing that I do want to do, or really technically I've already started because like I said, January 1st doesn't really work for me, is to start writing more. And by writing, I mean typing, because writing with a hand, one, my handwriting's terrible, but two, it takes way too long. Because it really helps me kind of, think through things, be more articulate, I guess, to be fancy. And I think it just helps communication overall to be a better writer. Main thing is just helps me think through things. And it's also kind of cool because you get to save your thoughts and kind of, now usually what I write about would be biblical stuff because I mean, as a youth leader, it's, whatever I'm teaching on or something, kill two birds with one stone. It's not like a diary. It's kind of, not that there's anything, I think those are great ideas.
Nothing wrong with that,
because now you have your your entire life and you'll be able to save it and reference it for later.
I'd probably say a journal or notes.
Because we're men, we say journal.
Yeah,
it's not a diary.
I ain't gonna say diary.
Right. Yeah. A men's journal. That's what we have.
Yeah.
But no, so that would be, I guess that would be my resolution if I could pick one. But going back to what you said about the sleep thing, I like how you talked about it was small incremental changes, right? So I'm not gonna go because whenever I started this, which was like a week or two, I mean, a few weeks ago, but I didn't write a trilogy the first time I sat down, right? It's maybe a paragraph here, maybe even a few sentences. Maybe I don't write anything. Maybe I just go back and edit all of it to make it more concise and more logical. So it's like that, just a little bit each day, and it's like that gradual progression, helps you, I guess, achieve whatever it is that you're trying to stick with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, writing more would be, I mean, I still want to do the reading thing, but I pretty much feel like I got that one down. So now kind of transition to the kind of thinking through what I read and then being able, maybe next year I'll do speaking, so then communicating. And so there you go.
So you'll have the
already
full
20.
3. Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
So the next question I've got is, do you have any New Year's resolutions this year? If not, what are some of the things you would like to do to improve yourself? I guess that's a really good point. Do you have any new resolutions for this year? I don't know exactly what qualifies as a New Year's resolution 100% here, but I'm just going to throw in what I think a New Year's resolution is for myself. Well, I guess the aspect of why I'm doing this is probably important. I think one of the things for me, at least, is changing the way that I view money from most people view money. And I think one of those reasons is viewing money as a tool. And how can this help you in the long term and making purchases and why I use my money, and versus using money for, because someone else uses their money for this.
Yeah.
And someone may say, well, Kyle, what aspects is that for you exactly? And so I think this is different for everyone. I do. And it can look different for everyone's life and what you love, for instance. So it's kind of like you in this aspect. I've already started working on this. It's not like I waited for January 1st.
Right.
I guess I say New Year's resolutions as kind of like, this is what we're going to kind of work on for a year, even though maybe we've done it for 2 months kind of thing.
Yeah.
So always try to work on something new, some kind of goal. I just like that goal in the future. Mm-hmm. And I like the end of a goal too. I like that because it makes you work hard sometimes. So I kind of like that aspect a little bit, even though it's a little vague. But one of the things is, so Kyle, what have you already worked on, I guess, is what someone may say. And so what that is there's a book I'm going through, but I'm not going to go through exactly what that book is. But it mostly, generally speaking, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, is viewing money different. I've already kind of said you viewing it as a tool, but using money for what you love. And someone may say, well, yeah, everyone does that, Kyle. Do they? I don't know. Does everyone technically love coffee or the certain coffee that they buy, though it may be very expensive? And, maybe you go out and get a Starbucks. So I'm just going to use it. One of the elaborations the guy talks about is maybe you go get a coffee that's $5 every day. Okay. 5 times 7, that's a big number going on there, Okay. That's a week. Now what happens when you times 7 times 4, times that number? You start to get into the hundo kind of money there at that point. Now, what if you do it twice a day? Now we're talking hundreds of dollars. Do you actually love that coffee that much? It's kind of what he says. Is it worth hundreds of dollars? Is it worth 1/4 of your rent? You need that. Now, maybe it is. Maybe it is. And you can just keep on doing that. But I think there's a good chance you don't love that coffee that much.
Yeah.
So what have I done? I don't have Wi-Fi in my house and I don't have data on my phone. Some people are, well, that's really weird, Kyle. Of course you're supposed to have that. You have to have that. Do I? I found out that I don't need it in my life. For work stuff, I come up to the church. It has the Wi-Fi that I need to get the things that I need to get done. Well, Kyle, you need more communication. That's why I have text and phone calls. If it's important enough, anyone could text me. If it's really important, a phone call is always there, especially for emergencies. I'm always within contact. So, because I had to think through this, that I'm capable of doing that. And I'm not saying everyone has to do that. It's not like that. But Kyle, you have to have Netflix or something. I don't. Maybe you really love it though. And so it's one of those things where I'm not telling you not to have it, but I found in my life that I really don't like it. I really don't use it. So at one point I'm like, why am I spending all this money when I'm watching Netflix once every 3 months? Why am I doing this when most of the times I look stuff up on the internet is when I'm up here at the church doing stuff for work? Why am I spending over $100 on this every month? Right. For me, that may be different for someone else.
Right.
So for myself, I started using that money for other things that I enjoy and that I love. And someone else may say, well, Kyle, that's really expensive of the things that you use your money on. And someone may say, well, you know, what example is that? I buy art because I love art and it's expensive.
Yeah.
But someone may say, Kyle, that's a waste. Not for me, maybe for you. Kyle, you're spending hundreds of dollars on that. Well, someone else is spending hundreds of dollars a month on the Wi-Fi and their data, and I'm not. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. And so it just depends. So my mindset has changed of spend money on what you actually love. And so that's just a change of my mindset on finances. And so into the new year, one of the things that I may try to change even more on that is kind of where I live. So I could free up even more money financially for more things that I love. And what those are, I may just not get into quite as much just right here and now. But some of it's already a few things I've already mentioned. But some other things, though, that I would like to do that some people may say, well, that's a waste of money or whatever. But I love those things, though. So for me, it isn't a waste of money. And going somewhere else, I mean, I live in a really good apartment, but I can definitely lower the quality of where I live because it just doesn't. As long as I don't get shot. But besides that, that's a criteria.
Right,
as long as that doesn't happen, I really don't have high expectations for that aspect. So I would say that's one of the things for me, at least personally, is spend money on what you love, not just spend money on what everyone else just spends on. And what that is personally
like
for me.
be mindful. I like that.
So that's it for me. But we're gonna switch it from right here. We're gonna switch gears and we're gonna move on to part 2. So we're gonna end this one. So join us for part 2 as we got a couple more questions when it comes to New Year's resolutions and what that's about. So we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.